Welcome to What the Church Won't Say. And today is the second and final episode of my series, Misguided. This is your host, Jose Castro, and I will tell you how I almost lost my life due to a drug overdose right after the short break.
Your bricks in danger, your chick's in danger. See, he will change ya if you come hang with us. So put that weight up and get your weight up. We not haters, no, we just dangerous.
Welcome back, everyone. I will never forget the day of November 11, 2009. The day that I almost lost my life due to a drug overdose. I remember waking up that day, and for some reason, it just felt like it was such a special day. That's how it felt to me. It was weird. I'm telling you, it was very weird. I woke up and I was like, I don't know, I feel like today is going to be a special day. I remember one of my close friends, Maria, shout out to Maria if you're watching this. She picked me up and we went to my friend's house. But this time, actually, my friend's girlfriend's little brother was there. And this kid is an important piece of this story because I remember I said hi to him. I hadn't seen him in a long time. And I was like, hey, what's up, brother? And he's like, hey, what's up, man? This kid, from a very young age, was in and out of prison. He was a very outgoing little kid and getting into so much trouble. So he was out, and it was really good to see him. And then, we were about to smoke some weed. And he's like, hey, man, why don't we get high on cough syrup? And I was like, cough syrup? He's like, yeah, you ever heard of lean? Codeine? That's what cough syrup has. It makes you feel really good, relaxed. I'm pretty sure you're going to like it. And since I was already into drugs, I was a drug addict, I was like, why not? Let's try it. And also, keep in mind that in the gang world, it is frowned upon to turn down some drugs. Sometimes seen as a disrespect. Okay, so we went to the convenience store, and at that time I remember there were just the cough syrup were just like on the shelves without any protection. You could just go grab them and take them to the to check out to pay for them. So we went in, we grabbed a couple of the biggest bottles that we could find, and we just stole them. We took them. Okay, we went back to the house, and I was like, so what's next? And he's like, yeah, just chug the whole thing, man, the whole thing. Keep in mind, this was a big bottle, a really big bottle. So I was like, okay, I mean, let's do it, So at that time, I was 21 years old. Okay, I was technically an adult, a young man, but in my mind, I was still a kid. Okay, so we chugged the whole bottle. I chugged one bottle, he chugged one, and maybe like an hour later, I threw up some of it because it was just so much, right? So I was like, okay, well, a few hours went by, and I wasn't feeling any effects. I was like, man, this thing, didn't even work. Like, what's going on here? Anyways. This guy, he went to his room. I guess he started feeling the effects. He fell asleep, and that was that for him. Okay, I don't think he woke up till the next day. I went about my day with the rest of my friends, and towards the evening, we decided to go get some weed. We went to get some chronic. On our way back to the house, we were smoking and everything. And I remember that on my way back, that's when I started feeling the effects of the codeine. It was like my brain was starting to shut down. And I was like, oh man, this is weird. So then I went inside the house. I sat on the couch. And as I was sitting on the couch, I just started feeling numbness come to my legs. My legs started to feel numb. And I started to get worried because I was like, hey, what's going on here? Like, and the little kid, that had taken the cough syrup with me. I mean, he was fast asleep. I couldn't ask him like, hey, is this how you're supposed to feel, or what's going on? So I started to get a little worried, and I told one of my friends, I was like, hey man, I'm feeling weird. I don't think I don't feel good. Just want to let you know. And he was like, hey, don't worry about it, man. You're just high. Just sit back, relax. It's okay. Well, I started to get even more worried because I could feel my brain swelling up within my head. And then all of a sudden, I could feel my whole nervous system just like alive, like shocking. Like I would feel like shocks all over my body. It was very intense. And so I was starting from worry. I was panicked at this time. I was like, man, I'm feeling so much pressure in my head. I'm feeling my nervous system now. My insides are burning, like my intestines are burning. I can't feel my legs. Well, I found the strength to get to the bathroom. And I looked at myself in the mirror and I was pale. My pupils were dilated all the way, so my eyes were pitch black. And I was like, man, I don't know what's happening to me. So I was like, well, maybe if I take a cold shower, this is going to go away. I took a cold shower. Nothing happened. I was still feeling very anxious, very sick. I was holding onto the sink because I could barely stand. It was like I didn't feel my legs anymore, but I could stand. It was very weird. It was very interesting. And then I was drinking some water and I was throwing it up like I was not able to receive any liquids. And then from that physical experience, I believe that I started to transcend onto a spiritual experience, because I started to feel like a force that I cannot explain, kind of like wanting to pull my soul out of my body. It was very, very intense, because it was like something trying to detach my soul from my body, but for some reason it was like my soul didn't want to leave, and it was just very bizarre, to say the least. So I was like, oh man, this is not good. This is not good. And I just kept looking at myself in the mirror, and I remember 3 thoughts came to my mind, because I saw myself in the mirror and I just saw how sick I looked. I was very pale. Almost like I looked dead, honestly. And my eyes were fully dilated, just pitch black. My eyes were just pitch black. And 3 thoughts came to my mind. The first thought was my mother. Because I don't know, I just, at that time I came to the realization that I was going to die. I really believed that I was going to die that day. And so at that moment it hit me, and I thought about my mother, and I was like, man, my mom, she's going to die when she finds out that I'm dead and that I died this way. She's gonna be so hurt. I just thought about that, and it hurt my heart because in the previous episode I kind of painted a picture on all the sacrifices that she made to try to give me a better life, to try to give me a better education, to try to up the odds on me so that I could be successful. And here I was, just wasting my life away. And so I was very, it hit my heart, man, I'm gonna hurt my mother like this. The second thought that came to my mind was, I'm only 21 and I'm gonna die like a junkie in a bathroom. They're gonna find me in a dirty bathroom, laid out. What an honorable way to die. And I'm being sarcastic, okay? That's what I thought to myself. What an honorable way to die. It was very shameful. I felt sadness. I felt shame. This is what they're gonna say about me, in my eulogy. The last thought that came to my mind was God. And I remember I was holding onto the sink. I was looking in the mirror and I was like, Lord, if you forgive me, if you give me a second chance, I promise you that I will be the man that you want me to be. Because the man that I've been wanting to be is dying right now. And at that moment, I just felt a warm embrace. It was as if that was the response of like, I forgive you. That is the best way that I can put it. I could tell you that my mother is the person that loves me the most in this world. But I've never felt anything like this in my life. I've never felt such an embrace with so much love, such as that invisible embrace that I felt that day on November 11, 2009. And when that embrace was fading away, I was sober again. It was an instant. It was like this. I could feel my legs. The pressure on my brain went away. I was normal again. It just took a second. And I remember I was in shock. I was like, oh my gosh, the Lord did answer me. So the Lord met me at a dirty bathroom when I was dying. And I want to emphasize that to say that the Lord will meet you anywhere when you cry out to Him. There is no such thing as you being in such a deep place that He cannot reach out to you. He will be able to reach out to you, as in the Psalms. I think it's David that says, I try to hide in hell and you still found me there. And I could say that that's where I was heading. That's where I was. I was in such a place of darkness. But God, when I cried out to Him, He answered me. So I'm saying that to whoever is watching this, to give you hope, to let you know that there is no such a thing of being in such a dark place where the light cannot reach you. Just hold on to that. Now, when I walked out of that bathroom, it was literally like the blinders fell off my eyes. Like I could see the world in a complete different way. It was very interesting. It was like now I could see the world in 4K. That's the best way that I can explain it. Like I could see things for what they were. Like I was not blind to the sin. I was not blind to the deception. I was not blind to none of those things. It was like I was awake now. That's the best way that I can put it. So my friend Maria, shout out to her again, she came to me and she's like, hey man, are you okay? Like I called the paramedics because I noticed that you weren't playing and I was just really worried about you, and are you okay? And I was like, yes, I am okay. So I still went with the paramedics. They took me in. I told them what happened, that I almost died of an overdose, and they were laughing at me. They were like this stupid kid, like another one, They dropped me off at the ER. They left me at the waiting room. Okay, they took me in. And I remember a nurse just came and checked on me, and that was it. I was there for more than 30 minutes. No one was coming to check on me. Like, if I was really ODing, I could have died. Like, no one came to check on me. So I got impatient. I was like, you know what? I'm just going to leave. I'm just going to leave. And I remember another friend of mine was actually waiting. It was a whole bunch of them, actually. They were waiting for me. So I came out. And I got in the car. And we went back to my homie's house. And I remember, his name is Marco. I remember I was close to him. And he came to the door. He was the one that answered the door when I came to, when we went back. And he was like, hey, man, I thought you died. And the way he said it in such a nonchalant, careless way that it made me feel like, man, Like, the friendship that you and I have is not real. Like, if we're just gonna take my death in such a way that it didn't really matter to you, then that means I don't matter to you. And that's when I started to like realize and prioritize the people in my life. The people that were just there for the party, the people that were just there to have a good time, and the people that had a good interest in my well-being. Okay? And yeah, I just think that we need to take some time to evaluate our relationships from time to time and see who is a benefit to you and who is not. Because it says in the Bible that bad company corrupts good character. And that's a fact. So I was brokenhearted, honestly, because I really appreciated this friend. And I was like, man, I was brokenhearted. So I went home. And I remember like the first thing that I did when I went home, I went to grab a Bible that I had stolen from a hotel. It was I don't know if you guys ever heard of the Gideon's Bible. So I had a Gideon's Bible. And I opened it up. And the first thing I read was John 3:3 that says, only those who are reborn again will be able to see the kingdom of God. That's when Jesus was talking to Nicodemus. And when I read that, like, I knew that God was talking to me and telling me, you were reborn again tonight. You were reborn again. Okay? And now you're going to be able to see my kingdom. So from that day on, I just started to have a lot of spiritual experiences, from dreams, from like people prophesying on me, people like just seeing different things, demons, miracles, just a whole bunch of spiritual experiences. Like, I remember I started going to church, and I was just so passionate about going to church that I didn't even care how far. The church that I started going to was very far from my house at that time. Very far. Like, walking distance, it was probably like 2 hours, I think. And I didn't have a car at that time. So sometimes I would ride a bike, and on my way to church, I would just like stop and talk to people and tell them my testimony and tell them how good God was. And I was just very passionate and very grateful because, He had saved my life. If someone saves your life, I can guarantee you're going to be indebted to them. So that's how I felt towards God, and sometimes I would walk to church 2 hours back. I did not care. I was very, very happy, very joyful, very content. And I remember that sometimes the Lord would bless me with like random rides, and to be honest with you, like I said, I didn't care. I just wanted to be in the presence of God, in the presence of Christians, in the presence of brothers and sisters, continuing to soak up the Word of God and learn more about Him and all that. And like, I remember my mom one time came to me, and she's like, son, are you okay? Like, do we need to take you to the doctor? Because she told me straight up, I think you're crazy. Like, she thought that I was like mentally ill because of the 180 that had taken place in my life and how devoted I became to God all of a sudden. And I told her, Mom, I'm not crazy, I promise you, but I almost died. And I told her my story. When I told her my testimony, she thought I was even more crazier. She didn't really believe me. She didn't believe that I almost died of an overdose. And I was like, Mom, this is for real. This is for real, Mom. Well, essentially, months went by and I still had the same attitude. I still had the same passion. And so my mom saw that it was for real. And she came to me again and she's like, Can you tell me like what happened to you again? And I told her, Mom, well, I almost died of an overdose, and this is what happened to me. And actually, my mom, she took the time to look up the consequences of what happens when you intake that amount of codeine into your system. Like, I should be dead, because the amount of codeine that I took that was on the cough syrup was enough to like completely shut down my liver. Like, I should be dead. I should not be here. That's a medical fact. If you guys remember how on the first episode I said that fathers are very crucial in the development of a child, I remember as, some years went by, me walking with the Lord, I understood God had become my father. And I started to see God as my father. It was like when I got saved, it felt as if I was a little child again, spiritually. And how God was just raising me from scratch, from the beginning. He was raising me, showing me how to become a man. So please like this video, subscribe, and share with the whole world. And we're gonna continue to say what the church won't say.